Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Chris Taylor, and I am the advocate of the devil. Marvel has taken great strides in putting out the absolute best in superhero movie franchises, from Iron Man to Captain America, the Guardians of the Galaxy, and the Avengers. It's been said that they can do no wrong, that everything they release is at the very least good, and most of the time, they're the gold standard in superhero cinematic franchises. But it wasn't always this way. In the mid-90s, Marvel filed for bankruptcy, and a lot of their mainstays were licensed out to other companies. The X-Men, for example, went to 20th Century Fox, and I'm pretty sure the Fantastic Four are there too. For a long time, Sony had exclusivity rights to the Spider-Man and all his villainous adversaries, but alas, a light shone down from the heavens and granted the masters at Marvel to share joint custody of their most treasured child of divorce. With Captain America: Civil War marking his very first appearance, Tom Holland now has a solo movie coming out this week under the Marvel Cinematic Universe banner. He flips, he quips. In fact, some could say that this is the best live-action interpretation of this character that we've ever seen. But here's the thing. He's not my favorite. Hell, Tobey Maguire isn't my favorite either. My favorite live-action Spider-Man is Andrew Garfield. Alright, internet, calm down. You with the angry comment, just stop. You're going to embarrass yourself. I'm not. I repeat, I am not saying that the Amazing Spider-Man movies are better.
You better not! You better not!
I'm not even saying that they're good. What I am saying is that to me, the portrayal of Peter Parker / Spider-Man as played by Andrew Garfield is my favorite of the three so far. It starts off with the web shooters. After Pete gets bit by the radioactive, bioengineered Oscorp super spiders, good old Petey decides to make his own web shooters. After the requisite learning your powers montage that literally every single superhero has to go through.
We're gonna need a montage. Ooh, it takes a montage.
Now okay, that bright flash as the webbing shoots out is jarring on the eyes, but Peter has always had a scientific mind. He was super intelligent before he became superheroic. The Sam Raimi films, you kinda had to take the director and writer's word that Mr. Parker was actually smart, since he rarely actually showed that side. He was put down like a nerd, but he was never actually shown to be one. It's not just the web shooters either. The trademark Spidey snark is here in spades too. In the comics, it's shown that Peter doesn't just punch, kick, and thwip his enemies into unconsciousness, he beats them with words just as easily. Usually as part of his costumed alter ego, more so than with his normal nerdy self. It's a defense mechanism of sorts, dealing with the pressures of vigilante justice. In Raimi's trilogy, we get this in the very first movie.
Set him down, tough guy.
Speak of the devil!
SpiderMan! I knew you two were in this together!
Hey kiddo, let mom and dad talk for a minute, will ya?
And that's about it. This was one of the defining characteristics of our favorite wall crawler, but it was neutered out of Maguire's portrayal. Thankfully, Garfield's version kept the mouth as well as the moves.
Just let me go.
Is that a knife? Is that a real knife?
Yes, it's a real knife.
My weakness, it's small knives.
Now, before Mary Jane had her chance to shine as our hero's interest of love, the comics had Gwen Stacy. Here, in the Amazing movies, we don't get her in the third movie to shoehorn a love triangle between our protagonists. No. Miss Stacy is right there at the very beginning, played by Emma. I don't think I've ever seen her play a role I didn't like, Stone. At the time of the Amazing Spider-Man movies, Miss Stone and Mr. Garfield were dating in real life. And it shows. The chemistry that they have is off the charts. Not only that, but it was nice to see a character that wasn't just a damsel in distress. Stacy actually helps Peter in this series, rather than just waiting to get rescued.
You leave right now. That is an order, okay?
I'm gonna get everybody out.
Did you hear?
She has goals and motivations beyond just moving the plot forward. Now, it could just be the acting, but I never once cared for what was going to happen to Mary Jane in the Raimi movies. She just seemed whiny and inconsequential to me. Every time she was on screen, I wanted her gone. With Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield, look, I'm not gonna lie, the stories in these two flicks were a mess. Trying to do too much at once instead of letting things happen organically. Those two actors just being on screen was organic. It was natural. I immediately paid more attention and cared infinitely more about what's going on. I never thought it would be possible, but the love story that was on the side of a superhero movie was more engrossing than the actual superheroing. Which reminds me, superhero movies are getting incredibly samey of late. I've already mentioned Spider-Man 3 in a previous episode, but it's not just that. It's all superhero movies. Hero gets his power. Hero learns to control that power. Hero faces insurmountable odds. Hero learns to use his powers in a new creative way, usually thanks to some potentially world-annihilating consequences of the hero's own actions.
In the 8 years since Mr. Stark announced himself as Iron Man, the number of known enhanced persons has grown exponentially.
Spidey's story has always been pretty basic. He already has his power and could have stopped a crime, but doesn't. That same crime doer ends up killing his Uncle Ben, which if Peter had only used his great power responsibly, he would still have an uncle. The Amazing duology has that moment in it as well. It's a requisite in the lore of Peter Parker. But these movies go one step beyond that and actually attempts to do something different. Deal with Peter's parents.
But the one thing that has haunted me my entire life is finding the truth about my parents.
We see his mom and dad drop him off to Uncle Ben, and at a young enough age that he would actually remember and start questioning. And it turns out there are plenty of secrets that the Parker parents have that will now remain relatively unsolved. Was the story told well? Arguable and wholly dependent on the person watching. I can't tell you whether or not you liked something, but I can put all my cards on the table. I did. I liked it. I liked the fact that this series tried to go in a different direction. Every instance of a character from a comic showing up in another medium, whether it be different comic book arcs, movies, TV shows, whatever, I've personally always viewed it as a separate universe for that character.
20% accurate as usual, Morty. The important thing being I just upgraded our cable package with programming from every conceivable reality.
If you constantly write the same stories over and over again, then you just end up with the exact same stories. And what's the point of rereading or rewatching the same thing that you've already read or watched? For good or for ill, the amazing movies tried to give us a different interpretation of the Spider-Man character, while still solidly remaining Spider-Man. And you know what? I didn't think it sucked. Despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary, I do hope I managed to shed some positivity to Andrew Garfield's portrayal of Marvel's web-headed mascot, the Spider-Man. Whether it be in a more accurate translation of a comic moving to the big screen, or even just how much better suited the love interest was in this set compared to the last one, it was clear to me that Andrew Garfield gave 1,000% of his energy into this character. And even if it was solely for money, or a need to differentiate itself from what came before, a deeper look into Peter's lineage could have been just what this set of movies needed to set itself apart and have the potential to rise above its predecessor. As always, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for a new piece of my mind every Wednesday. Helps the channel and keeps you in the loop for all of our opinions. And swing on over to the description to find a link to our Twitch channel where we try very unsuccessfully to play games for our adoring audience whenever we have time. And most importantly, let your verdict be heard in the comments below. Did you prefer Garfield or Maguire? Are you super excited for Spider-Man Homecoming? Maybe you just think I'm wrong in every way imaginable. By all means, let your own views clash with my own, so that I may proceed to prove you wrong.
Kaboom! You've been lawyered.
But for now, in the case of Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, the defense rests. Okay, I don't know if that was just a perfect coincidence or it's a pseudonym, but there is no way in hell that that was accidental.